the external sector. Now, external sector, when we talk about, is nothing but India's economic interaction with the outside world. External itself means which is beyond India's domestic borders, which is outside India's frontiers, where India has an economic transaction. See, we are talking about economics, so here we are going to deal up with only the economic sections, and whatever international transactions that we have from the outside India is covered under the external sector of the syllabus. Now, in the prelim examination, we all know that UPSC has not provided elaborate syllabus for the economic and many other subjects as well. In the similar fashion, what is the guiding force towards covering the syllabus is the PYQs. So in absence of the overall exhaustive syllabus, the guiding force in the prelim examination for the economics is always going to be your PYQs. So right from 2010, 11 till today, whatever the prelim questions that you have is the exact guiding force for you to determine which topic is more important and which is not. Out of that, we have around 7 to 8 major topics, and external sector is very important of them. How do we know that? Through these 3 questions. Now, I have just taken some of the sample questions from the entire lot of the questions, which we will be covering up in the consequent classes as well. Now, look at these 3 questions. These 3 questions have been asked in 2020, in 2013, 19, as well as 22. So in a span period of almost 9-10 years, these 3 questions have been asked. Now, going through these specific prelim questions, it will give you the guidance. As I told you, syllabus in prelim is not the guide for you. PYQs are. Now look at this question. This question is asking on balance of payment, the most important component of the external sector. The second one is with respect to the RBI on Indian rupee, that is the exchange rate, forex or foreign exchange reserves, Indian rupee. Now, Indian rupee has been thoroughly throughout the current affairs in the last year. It has crossed 80, 83, 85, reached 86 per dollar, and our Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has been persuading the entire population, saying that the transactions or this depreciation in Indian rupee has been mostly in terms of dollar, and it on the other currency it has been mostly stable. Now, what does it mean? That is what we are going to cover up. Then NEER. Now, NEER is the nominal effective exchange rate. UPSC has asked a question in 2022 because in that year it was a major current affair. This year also it has been a current affair. So we'll be covering that topic as well as thoroughly in these classes. Now, these are the 3 topics which are going to give us the, you can say, a guiding force, a guideline. The first tells us about the external sector, the balance of payment. The second tells us about the rupee, its appreciation, depreciation, foreign exchange determination and everything else. And the last one is the collaborative or the indicators on the exchange rate. Now, these are the sub topics of the external sector. Overall, if you look at the bigger picture, you will identify that this is the entire topics that we are going to cover up. Starting with balance of payment. What are the trends of balance of payment in last few decades, especially in the last 2-3 years? The composition of balance of trade, which includes the capital account and the current account. Current itself means within 365 days, 365 days, pardon me, and capital, which includes more than that. But this is the broad definition. We'll be covering up the more detail. Then we'll talk about the investment, a thorough discussion on FDI, FPI, sectors, composition, trends, what includes and what does not includes in the FDI and FPI. Then we will move towards the economic integration, which includes the economic union, economic commissions, which includes free trade agreements, preferential trade agreements, custom unions and many others. All right, and I'll be giving you a lot of examples in that regard as well. Then we will move towards the exchange rate, NEER and REER, that is nominal and the real effective exchange rate. Because this was asked in the prelims, so we'll be covering this in much detail, and because this is also in the current affairs, so we'll try to curate it, we'll try to connect it with the current affairs as well. Then we'll be moved towards the last topic of external sector is going to be the foreign exchange or forex. Composition and the reserves. What are the 4 components of the foreign exchange reserves? What is the present status? How it has been divided? how exchange rate is determined, and how the rupee convertibility is a major issue in India, and why still we do not have the complete or the perfect capital account convertibility. So what is current account convertibility? What is capital account convertibility? All these topics are going to be discussed in this specific class. So without wasting any time, let's start with the most important thing. What is external sector, or what constitute the external sector in an economy? Now see, in an economy, external basically means from the outside world. Now it may or may not have border as a basis. Outside world is sometimes actually be determined by the residents. Whether a person we are interacting with is a resident of a country or not, that defines whether we are interacting with the outside world or not. Now you might think that external sector means interacting with a foreign person. No. Here, a foreign person or a foreign entity is not determined by their nationality. It is determined by how long they are going to stay in India. For example, if a person is staying in India for 15 days, he's a tourist. He's coming to India, he's staying in India. Is he considered as an external sector? Yes. But if the same person is staying in India for 3 years, 5 years, he becomes Indian resident. Not citizen, but a resident. Now, once he becomes the Indian resident, he is not considered to be an external entity. So basically, now why I'm discussing this? Because you should have the basic idea that what constitute external. What is external in the external sector? So, what is external sector? External sector basically stands for, in economics, external sector is a direct economic interaction of an economy with rest of the world. Alright, I have not written foreigners or foreign citizens, rest of the world. Alright, so here basically the rest of the world, we are going to discuss that in detail, that what this rest of the world is all about. But please understand, we are not talking about the politics. Alright, it is not citizenship, it is economics. We are not concerned about the citizenship of a person. We are concerned about whether that person is an Indian resident or not, whether that company is registered in India or not. Now, external sector, when we are talking about what is external sector, it is economic interaction which is direct, not indirect. So if I am sending money to America, and I am sending money to America via different routes, that is indirect. So I am sending it to person A, person is sending to person B, then C, then D, and then finally it is reaching America after 2-3 years. That is illegal, could be illegal. So that is not direct, it should be direct. Alright, the transaction should be between one to one, not in multiple hidden layers. And secondly, it should be economic, money should be involved. Here economy means money transactions. Whatever we are providing, whether goods, services, whatever we are exporting, we are importing, everything should include money. It should not be a voluntarily non-monetary activity. It should be a monetary activity. Then it includes payments, right? You can make payments like remittances are there. Then it has money transfers, remittances, scholarships, then we have pension and many other kind of money transfers. Goods and services which are being exchanged. So I can take services, I can take IT services from outside, I can take consultancy services from America, and the Indians can also provide the same. And the investments. So FDI, FPI, they all are part of external sector. Now the biggest question is how external sector is measured in an economy. How do we measure? I mean, we say that economic activity in India is measured via GDP calculations. But in GDP calculation, you may have studied about an important formula which says that GDP, that is Y, equals to C plus I plus G. Now this indicates internal economy. This is not a big rocket science, guys. This is just a basic formula given in your NCERT. C stands for consumption in India, I investment, and G is government spendings. But when you add money coming from exports, money is coming in India because of exports, and money is going out from India because of import. It is known as X minus M. This is known as net exports. When you add this also, this complete is a complete GDP model which includes external sector, and X minus M is the external sector. So how do we measure that? We measure that through, so the question is how external sector is measured. It is measured via balance of payment. It is measured through balance of payment accountings. So we have an accounting, it is known as BoP accounting, external sector accounting, and in this accounting we includes comings, that is incomings, and the outgoings, that is what is credited, what is debited. You can use any kind of term for that. Basically we says what we have exported as a service, goods, money, investment, and what we have imported. Now balance of payment, what is balance of payment? The question is, it is a statistical statement. It's a balance sheet. It's a balance sheet, okay, that summarizes economic transaction. Again I am saying, again and again I'm using the word economic because money is involved, between residents and non-resident during a period of 1 year. That's it. So what we have included within 1 year, how much we have sold and how much we have purchased from the outside world in a year is what is balance of payment. Now when I say transactions, these transactions could be exports, imports of goods, of services, unilateral transfers, FDI, FII, many things that we are going to discuss later on. So this is a statistical statement, guys. It's a statement, it's a balance sheet. So it is something which has been covered. Now it is written between residents and non-residents, not citizens. I'll come to that, who is a resident. So it is a transactions between the resident and non-resident. Now resident here does not mean a person who is living in India for 1 day. No, 1 day is not a criteria. It is more than 6 months. Now who are these residents? The residents could be an individual, a company, as well as government. The government of India also makes purchases. They export something, they import something. So they are considered to be an entity or an resident. Obviously government is going to be the resident. So these are the three different parties which are part or called as residents or non-resident. So US government is non-resident. US company, let's say Apple, Microsoft, it's a non-resident. So if you are purchasing something, let's say you have purchased an application on your Apple mobile, or from the Play Store or from the Apple Store. So the money is going from your account to the US between an individual who is in India and to a company in US. So it's a between resident and non-resident. So guys, this is what the basics of BoP is all about. Coming to a topic that what or who is a resident. Now who is an individual? Over there I'm going to discuss about the company. In the left side we have the individual. So who is an individual? All of you know who is a company. The thing that you should know about is individual and the company. So there are three entities: individuals, then we have companies, and the third one is the government. Government I don't think we are going to discuss. It's of no use to discuss about the government angle in the resident and non-resident. Government is always going to be the resident. But among individuals and among the company, we have confusion that how to identify whether an individual is a resident or not. So who is a resident or who is an individual? Anyone who stayed in India for more than 182 days, basically 6 months. Okay, rough figure is 6 months, who has stayed in India. Doesn't matter he is a citizen of India or not. Who has stayed in India for more than 182 days, irrespective of their nationality. Irrespective of their nationality. So you will notice that most of the time when foreigners comes to India, they do not stay more than 6 months. Let's say some players are coming to play cricket match. So they are not going to stay in India for 6 months or more than 6 months. Politicians are coming, delegations are coming, businessmen are coming, tourists are coming. They are not going to stay in India for more than 6 months. That's the biggest logic. So hence a foreign tourist, I'm just giving you an example, guys. A foreign tourist is considered as non-resident because there is no foreign tourist who is going to stay in India for more than 6 months. I mean, okay, even Bharat Darshan is not possible for him throughout the 6 months, so he will go back to his country and again apply for the visa. Multiple entries, right? In single entry, he's not going to stay here. So a foreign tourist is considered as non-resident. So whatever services that you provide, any service, goods purchased by him are accounted as exports. So if a foreign tourist, let's say the Meta founder, right, Mark Zuckerberg, the Facebook owner, if he comes to India and go to a market and buy vegetables in India, or he go to the market and buy anything. Now you might be thinking that this economic transaction is taking place in India, but no, it is Indian person or a shop is providing, is exporting goods to Mark Zuckerberg in India. So that person, Mark Zuckerberg, who has stayed in India for let's say 7 days, is a non-resident. So this identification is very important because already UPSC has asked this question in the prelim examination. Then exemptions. There are certain exemptions. Okay, now you might think so foreign diplomats are living in India and they stayed in India for 2 years, 3 years. American diplomats, Australian diplomats, Pakistani diplomats, although the matter of fact that they are safe in India, right? So the diplomats are staying in India for more than 182 days. So are they residents? The answer is no. Exemptions. Who is a non-resident? Foreign diplomats will always remain as a non-resident. So if anyone, let's say Swiggy or Zomato, is providing any kind of delivery to an American embassy, Chinese embassy, we are exporting that because whosoever is consuming that is a non-resident. So they are not considered, and the officials of the international organizations like WHO, World Trade Organizations and many others, despite being living in India for more than 182 days. Secondly, Indian diplomats who are outside, military personnel outside India, crew members of ships and the aircrafts. So Indigo Airlines, SpiceJet, who are there outside, who are working in the foreign offices, they are in the plane while traveling, right? They are operating outside India. Indian students and the patients who are abroad for operations, Indian student who is going outside to study. So he might be living in, let's say he's taking education from Harvard University or from any Australian university or Japanese university. So he's going to stay there for 3 years, 2 years, or maybe a longer period of time. So will that person be considered to be as a resident of that country? No, he continued to be the resident of India. So whatever that person, that student purchase in America is considered to be accounting in the exports. Now, if you are clear with the individuals who are individuals, then let's move towards the companies. So what makes a company? Now there are two criteria. Again, the companies are also residents or the non-residents. Who are not? Which are the non-resident companies? If any foreign company registered outside India, Facebook, right, registered in America, but have operations in India, doesn't matter. So Facebook has operations in India, Google has operations in India, Ford company has operations in India, Toyota Motors have operations in India, doesn't matter. But they are registered in their parent nations. Second condition is foreign company having effective management outside India, right? Foreign company having effective management outside India means it is a foreign company and it also operates outside India. It does not have large, it may sell something, but it does not have large operations in India. Now, effective management means at the grassroots level, they have a huge base of people in India. Now, companies like Suzuki. Now, Maruti Suzuki has been in India for years, for decades now. They have a huge base. They have effective management in India. But look at other companies like BYD. Now, these are the companies. BYD is a motors. They produce electric cars, right? Now, they have a very small presence in India. Very, very small presence. And it's a Chinese company as well. So, that will be considered as a non-resident. So, if you buy any good from there, it is considered to be import. Then consider that what is a resident company, right? Any company registered in India. So let's say if I registered a company in India, I get a registration of a company, Tata Group, right? Tata Group, Reliance, many other, Adani and others, irrespective of place of their operations. So if Tata or TCS has operations in California in America, it is still an Indian company. It is still a resident. So their purchase will consider to be imports by India. Yes, if TCS makes a purchase in America, it is considered to be an import because it's a resident company. Then any foreign company having effective management in India. Effective management, I give you the example of Suzuki. It is a foreign company. Suzuki is a Japanese company, but it has an effective management. It has a large base of consumers, operational, routine work in India. So it is considered to be a resident. Now it is up to the discretion of the government based on multiple criteria how this effective management is determined. Now, if this is clear, you can easily understand who is a resident and who is not a resident of a nation. Given this condition, now in the prelims, if UPSC asks any kind of question, you should never have any kind of confusion, because this classification will help you to identify what considered as an export and what considered as an import in the balance of payment and how it is going to be accounting.